News Services Division of All India Radio presents Money Matters.
देश और लोगों के वित्त और अर्थव्यवस्था से जुड़ा कार्यक्रम
About savings, investments, borrowings and taxations.
हिंदी और इंग्लिश में सीधा प्रसारण
On our digital platforms.
सुनना ना भूलें हर रोज शाम 4:05 से 4:30 तक।
Money Matters.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Money Matters, our daily show on all things to do with personal finance. You're listening to Money Matters on the official All India Radio News YouTube channel. This is an interactive show where you can also participate, and you can do that simply by typing your comments in the live chat section, comments or question. Or you can also send us an email on moneymatters.air@gmail.com. That's moneymatters with an S. We announce the topic of the show one day in advance so that you can send in your questions in advance. So as announced earlier, our topic for today is residential status of a taxpayer. I'm V. Ravi Kumar and with me is my co-anchor in Hindi, Vishal Sharma.
नमस्कार, मनी मैटर्स में आप सभी का स्वागत। देश और लोगों के वित्त और अर्थव्यवस्था से जुड़े इस कार्यक्रम में हम प्रतिदिन एक निर्धारित विषय पर अपनी चर्चा केंद्रित करते हैं। आज का विषय है करदाता की आवासीय स्थिति यानी रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस ऑफ टैक्स पेयर। श्रोताओं, इस कार्यक्रम में हम आपके सवाल भी शामिल करते हैं। सवाल भेजने के लिए हमारा ईमेल आईडी है moneymatters.air@gmail.com। आज कार्यक्रम में हमारे साथ चर्चा के लिए आमंत्रित हैं आर्थिक विशेषज्ञ यामिनी अग्रवाल। यामिनी, नमस्कार। मनी मैटर्स में आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत।
नमस्कार, धन्यवाद।
जी, सबसे पहला जो सवाल यहाँ पर यही एक जहन में आता है कि रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस क्या है और इनकम टैक्स के मामलों में एक व्यक्ति का रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस जो है वो इतना अहम क्यों माना जाता है?
जी देखिए, जब हम रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस की बात करते हैं तो यही डिसाइड करता है कि आपके जो इनकम है उसके ऊपर टैक्स लगेगा या नहीं, वो आपके रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस पे डिफाइंड होगा। अगर आप रेजिडेंट हैं या आप नॉन रेजिडेंट हैं, दो ही रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस होते हैं। अगर आप रेजिडेंट हैं तो रेजिडेंट ऑर्डिनरी रेजिडेंट है या रेजिडेंट बट नॉट ऑर्डिनरी रेजिडेंट है। ये इस पे डिफाइन करेगा कि आप किस इनकम पे टैक्स देंगे या किस इनकम पे टैक्स नहीं देंगे। उसके लिए हम इनकम्स को भी डिफाइन करते हैं, इंडियन इनकम और फॉरेन इनकम। तो जहां तक रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस है, वो रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस एक इंसान का उसके प्रीवियस ईयर और प्रीवियस ईयर में डिफर कर सकता है कि किस स्थिति में वो भारतवर्ष में कितने दिन रहा है। तो कुछ बेसिक कंडीशंस हैं रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस की। जैसे अगर हम कहें कि प्रीवियस ईयर में कोई व्यक्ति 182 डेज या ज्यादा के लिए यहाँ पे रहा हो तो उसे रेजिडेंट मानते हैं। या दूसरी कंडीशन होती है कि वो 60 दिन के लिए, 60 दिन से ज्यादा दिन के लिए प्रीवियस ईयर में रहा हो और 365 डेज से ज्यादा दिन के लिए पिछले 4 प्रीवियस ईयर्स में रहा हो। अगर ये दोनों में से एक भी बेसिक कंडीशन पूरी होती है तो जो है उसे रेजिडेंट मानते हैं। जो दूसरी कंडीशन है 60 दिन वाली, वो एप्लीकेबल नहीं होती जब एक व्यक्ति प्रीवियस ईयर में अपने एम्प्लॉयमेंट के लिए बाहर जाता है या फिर वो जो है और वो इंडियन सिटीजन हो, और या फिर वो जो है मेंबर हो इंडियन शिप के क्रू का। अगर वो एम्प्लॉयमेंट के लिए जाता है तो ये दूसरी कंडीशन 60 दिन वाली नहीं एप्लीकेबल होती। और अगर कोई इंडियन रेजिडेंट है और इंडियन ओरिजिन का है जो इंडिया में विजिट करने के लिए आया है प्रीवियस ईयर में, उसके लिए भी वो 60 दिन वाली कंडीशन पूरी नहीं होती, नहीं पूरी होने की जरूरत। वरना अगर इन दोनों में से, दोनों कंडीशन में से एक भी कंडीशन पूरी होती है तो उसे रेजिडेंट कहते हैं।
कुल मिलाकर के किसी भी व्यक्ति पर टैक्स लगाने से पहले उसकी जो निवास की स्थिति देखी जाती है कि उसका रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस देखा जाता है और इसे देखे बिना टैक्स निर्धारित नहीं किया जा सकता।
हाँ जी।
So, Yamini, we are talking about the resident status. I mean, we've all heard the term non-resident Indian or non-resident. But from an income tax perspective, we look at a resident, ordinary resident, and resident but not ordinary resident, and non-resident. So they try and create these three categories. Now, if I try to simplify things, let's say, for example, I travel, I'm just giving an example, I don't, but let's say I travel abroad a lot, and you mentioned 182 days. So if I stay outside India in all my foreign trips for a period of 183 days, do I become a non-resident?
If you travel for more than 183 days, then in that particular case, you become a non-resident. However, if you don't travel for, let's say, if you are here for more than 182 days or more in India, then you remain a resident.
And what is the relationship between resident and there is a lot of talk about citizenship in India? Can I be a citizen and a non-resident? Can I be a non-resident and not a citizen? How does that work?
So residency has nothing to do with citizenship. There are two different aspects. A person who may be a foreign national can also be a resident in India if he is staying in India. Similarly, a person who is a citizen of India may be spending more than 182 days outside India and he may be a non-resident Indian. So depending upon where you are staying and for how long you are staying will decide your residency status. It has nothing to do with the citizenship.
So what is the purpose that the income tax department has done in making, because it sounds very intimidating and very complicated, trying to make normal people into resident and ordinarily resident and resident but not ordinary resident. I suddenly feel like I'm not a human being anymore. So why would the income tax department do such complicated things to normal human beings? What is the purpose behind this?
The purpose is to define the tax incidence on an assessee. So you can have an assessee who can be an individual, who can be an Hindu undivided family, a firm or an association of persons, a joint stock company or any other assessee. Now any of these people can be have to be assessed for the incomes that they earn, and they can earn Indian incomes or they can earn foreign incomes. So in the hands of the residents of India, the foreign incomes and Indian incomes are both taxable. However, in case he is a resident but not ordinary resident, Indian income is taxable. Foreign income, to the extent that he earns from his business and from the profession he may have set up in India, will be taxable. But any other foreign income will not be taxable for him. However, in case of a non-resident, only Indian income which happens to him will be taxable in India, but foreign incomes will be completely non-taxable.
So the most important thing that you're saying why the income tax department does this is to determine the scope of income which should be included in the return while that person files that return. So let's now go back one step. Let's say I'm a resident Indian and I file my return. And I also, the government under the liberalized remittance scheme allows up to $250,000 to be invested abroad. So I have invested, let's say, $2 lakh in the US stock exchange, and I earn interest or in dividends from those stocks. So those would be amounts that I have earned abroad, that's in US or in Brazil or wherever. That will be included in my income in India, and I will have to pay tax here. Is that correct? Because I'm a resident?
If you are a resident, yes, any income that accrues to you from Indian sources or from outside sources and are received by you in India, you will have to pay taxes in India.
And if I'm a non-resident, because there's the entire thing of people wanting to be classified as non-resident for the purpose of tax, would mean that if I'm a non-resident and I've earned my income, let's say in America, that will not be included in my return here.
Yes, with that you do not have to pay taxes according to the Income Tax Act here.
So if I had a choice, where would I be better off? Of course, we don't have a choice. It is defined by some conditions. If I had a choice, would I be better off being a resident or better off being a non-resident?
Well, it is not a question of whether you're better off or whether you're not better off. Depending upon whether you have stayed in India for a certain period of time, which is 182 days for the present assessment year, and for the future assessment year, it would be 120 days. If you have stayed more than 182 days or in the future assessment years more than 120 days in India, then you automatically become a resident. If you have not stayed, then you become automatically a non-resident if you don't fulfill the second condition of 60 days in the previous year and 365 days in the 4 previous years.
Okay, so let's go back again to the resident taxpayer, and the budget speech contained some changes, some proposed changes. They have not become an act yet. Those proposed changes caused a lot of hullabaloo, especially in the non-residents, and there was a fear that the global incomes might get taxed. I'll come to that, but I'm coming back to the conditions that you mentioned to be a resident, an ordinarily resident, that is ROR, is that he resides in India for a minimum of 182 days in a year. This is the current requirement, and has resided in India for a minimum of 365 days in the immediately preceding 4 years. In addition, he must reside in India for a minimum of 60 days in the previous year, which is the current financial year.
This is for the resident Indian. So if somebody has to first choose between whether he is resident or not resident, so if he fulfills any one of these two conditions, then he is a resident of India.
So it's either or.
It doesn't have either to be or.
Okay.
No, or So it is one condition which he fulfills. Then if he is a resident, he will be then classified as a resident and ordinary resident, or he would be classified as resident, not ordinary resident, but not ordinary resident. For that, he has to fulfill two more conditions for being resident and ordinary resident. The two conditions are that if he is a resident in India and at least 2 out of the 10 previous years immediately preceding the relevant previous year.
Okay, let me interrupt you here, and for the purpose of some of our listeners who might not be so conversant, please explain the difference between previous year and assessment year.
So a previous year is the year in which you earn the income, and it starts from 1st April to 31st of March. So if 1st April 2019 to 31st March 2020 would be your previous year for this time, and your assessment year would be the year in which the income gets assessed. So it becomes the next year. So it starts from 1st April 2020 to 31st March 2021. So assessment year is the year ahead of the previous year in which your incomes are assessed. So previous year you earn the income, and the assessment year you pay the income tax.
So we come back to the two conditions that you were mentioning for RNOR. One is that he has resided in India for at least 2 out of 10
previous years immediately preceding the relevant previous year, and the second condition is that he must have stayed in a period of 730 days or more during 7 years immediately preceding the relevant previous year. If he fulfills both these conditions, then he is a resident and an ordinary resident. If he fulfills only one condition, then he is a resident but not ordinary resident.
And anybody who doesn't fall under ROR or RNOR automatically becomes
a non-resident. So automatically, if he does not fulfill the basic condition of 182 days in this assessment year and in the future assessment year 120 days, or he does not fulfill the 60 days condition and plus 365 days condition, then he becomes a non-resident.
जी यामिनी, यहाँ आपसे जानना चाहेंगे कि अगर कोई रेजिडेंट इंडियन, जैसे कि आजकल प्रोफेशनल्स बाहर भी जाते हैं, बाहर रह करके भी काम करते हैं, तो एक रेजिडेंट इंडियन कुछ समय के लिए विदेश जाकर के अगर कुछ वहां पे अर्निंग्स करता है, तो क्या उस स्थिति में क्या ड्यूअल टैक्सेशन की भी स्थिति बनती है, जहां जिस देश में रह करके उसने अर्निंग्स की, जो आय अर्जित की, उस पे वहां पर भी टैक्स देना पड़ सकता है उसको, या केवल उसको टैक्स यहीं पर आगे देना होगा?
जी, जब आप रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस की बात करते हैं, अगर वो रेजिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया है और रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस में वो 182 डेज एंड ओवर रह चुका है, तो वो यहाँ पे भी टैक्स देगा, और अगर उस देश के हिसाब से उसे वहां पे भी टैक्स देना है, तो उधर के इनकम टैक्स के हिसाब से भी वहां पे भी उसे टैक्स देना पड़ेगा। पर हमारी कुछ डबल टैक्सेशन ट्रीटीज हैं, जिसके तहत हमने ये माना है कि अगर एक इंडिविजुअल 2 कंट्रीज में अर्न कर रहा है और उनके इनकम टैक्स के हिसाब से वो एक जगह इनकम टैक्स पे कर रहा है उस इनकम के ऊपर, तो दूसरी जगह वो इनकम टैक्स नहीं पे करना पड़ेगा। पर ये निर्भर करता है डबल टैक्सेशन ट्रीटीज पर, और ये भी निर्भर करता है कि वहां का इनकम टैक्स लॉ क्या कहता है।
So this is quite interesting, Yamini, because the budget speech that Nirmala Sitharaman made recently on the 1st of February, one of the biggest things that came was, of course, not yet become an act, but the thing that is there in the bill is that people who do not pay taxes in that foreign country where they are earning, then it becomes taxable in India. That's the thing that was introduced. So we will go through all the details in terms of what did Budget 2020 introduce with respect to residential status of a taxpayer. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. We'll be back right after a commercial break. Welcome back to Money Matters, and we'd like to tell you that our topic for tomorrow's Money Matters is cyber security. So if you have any queries about cyber security, do email them to us at moneymatters.air@gmail.com, or you can come live and use the live chat option and ask a question straight away. So don't forget to tune in at 4:05 p.m. tomorrow to listen to Money Matters dedicated to the topic cyber security. Or if you miss it, you can go to our YouTube channel, click on the playlist called Money Matters and listen to any of the shows. You will clearly see the topic of the show and even the date mentioned on the video thumbnail. So, Yamini, coming back to Budget 2020 and its impact on the residential status of a taxpayer. So, briefly highlight what is the major change that Budget 2020 is proposing vis-a-vis the residential status.
So what it is saying is that, you were a resident in India if you fulfill the condition of 182 days or more staying in India. So now it says that instead of 182 days, it will be 120 days. And primarily the purpose of changing this number of days is to bring more number of people in the tax net in terms of the foreign incomes that they earn in India, from outside India.
So why was there such a lot of initial hullabaloo about a lot of people, especially in Gulf, who were working there, who were suddenly very worried that their incomes there might, because a lot of people in the Gulf do not pay taxes, that they would have to pay taxes on that. And has there been a clarification on that?
Yes, they've been specifying that, if you have been earning a particular set of income and you are a resident in India, then you need to pay an income tax there. And in many of the Gulf countries, they're not paying any taxes. So the particular income that they're earning, they're not paying taxes either there or here.
Okay, so we talked about the residential status, that this is currently applicable. The budget proposes that this status will change from 1st April 2021. That means for the assessment year that starts 2021-2022, which applies to the previous year, which will start in 1.5 months from now, that is 1st April 2020. Is that correct, Yamini?
Yes, that is correct.
So in the current regime, that is when we are talking on February in 2020, we are talking about a resident taxpayer who needs to satisfy either of the two conditions: resides in India for a minimum of 182 days in a year, or has resided in India for a minimum of 365 days in the immediate preceding 4 years. In addition, he must reside in India for a minimum of 60 days in the current financial year. Is there any change in this proposed in the budget?
No, for this particular assessment year, there is no proposed change. But for the next assessment year, there is a proposed change.
So once this gets passed, this finance bill becomes an act, would the resident taxpayer now be classified as differently? What would that be?
So if in the particular case, if you are residing for more than 120 days, then you will be classified as a resident.
More than 120 days.
More than 120 days.
Rather more than 119 days, I guess. So the moment
more
you
than,
stay 120
yes,
days.
120 days or more.
Or more. So that would be ROR, resident, but ordinarily resident.
Resident and ordinary resident would have to satisfy the other two conditions also, which is 2 out of the 10 previous years he should have been a resident, and 730 days or more during the 7 years. Then he becomes ROR. If he does not fulfill any of the one conditions, then he becomes RNOR, which is resident but not ordinary resident.
So, okay.
जी, ये जो अवधि की जो बात कर रही हैं आप, 120 दिन या अगले वित्तीय वर्ष से जो 120 दिन हो जाएगा, या फिर अभी जो फिलहाल के लिए 182 है, तो ये क्या इसमें जो अवधि है ये क्या कुछ खास परिस्थितियों में रिलैक्सेबल होती है असेसमेंट के समय में?
जी, जैसे हमने कहा कि जो आपकी कंडीशन है उसके 120 डेज की कंडीशन में तो परिस्थिति में नहीं बदलाव होता, पर जो 60 डेज का कंडीशन है वो अगर आपने एम्प्लॉयमेंट ली है तो उसके केस में वो 182 डेज रहेगी या 120 डेज हो जाएगी अगले असेसमेंट ईयर के लिए। और अगर आप किसी शिप में काम करते हैं और आप इंडियन क्रू का पार्ट हैं और इंडियन सिटीजन हैं, तो उस पर्टिकुलर स्थिति में भी वो 60 डेज की जो अवधि है प्रीवियस ईयर में प्लस 365 डेज की, वो हो जाएगी 182 डेज इस असेसमेंट ईयर के लिए, और अगले असेसमेंट ईयर के लिए 120 डेज।
So there are people who work in merchant navy and they serve as crew aboard ship, and therefore they keep traveling from one port to another. How are they considered from a residential status, because they're actually in the high seas most of the time?
So for them, the condition would be this particular condition of let's say more than 182 days or more, or 120 days or more for the next assessment year, not this assessment year.
Okay, and also we have this new category of, not new, of course, it's been of recent vintage that has been introduced. It's called person of Indian origin. How does the residential status sit with somebody who is defined as a person of Indian origin?
So what we talk about of a person of Indian origin is person who is born out of either of the parents who have been in Indian, or of a person who has his grandparents, which includes maternal or paternal great-parents, who have been born in the undivided India. So then he is given the status of a PIO, which is there. So person of Indian origin. And a person of Indian origin is usually relaxed in the case of a residential status when he is visiting India in terms of the condition of the 60 days, which then becomes 182 days.
So now, of course, we have barely 1.5 months to go before the next financial year, or as you called it, previous year starts. Let's take an example and try and understand this. For how does a person who's, let's say, Vishal, let's take Vishal's example, who's resident in India, how does he become ROR, and then how does he become RONR, RNOR, and then how does he become non-resident? Vishal has smiles on his face, but let's explain using Vishal's example.
So if Vishal in the previous year, which starts from 1st April 2019 to 31st March 2020, has stayed in India for 182 days or more, he automatically becomes a resident. And since he becomes a resident, then we check in the last two previous years, was he staying here for 182 days or more or not? Or so. If that is so, then he fulfills the first condition. Then we see then for last 7 years, was he here for 730 days or not? If he fulfills both these conditions, he becomes ROR, which is resident and ordinary resident. If he fulfills, he says that in this previous year, I was here for 182 days or more. But in the last year, I was not here for more than 10 days. And to that previous year also, I was not there for more than 10 days. Then he automatically becomes resident, but non-resident Indian.
Resident,
not ordinary resident.
And how does he become non-resident?
So he
has
to probably visit outside and stay for more than 182 days to become to be a non-resident, which probably now he possibly cannot opt for. Now for the next financial year, if he wants to become a non-resident, he should choose to stay for less than 120 days in India.
And in the budget explanatory memorandum and even the budget speech, the finance minister mentioned that this change from 182 days to 120 days is being made because many people who are having incomes and largely having families and their businesses in India are misusing this provision of 182 days to kind of not report their incomes. So can you please throw some light on that aspect of the proposal?
So people who were earning foreign incomes would largely try to manage their stay in such a manner that they would stay 6 months here and would stay 6 months outside, and thereby their foreign incomes may not become taxable in India. Besides, they were using this particular condition for even getting the RNOR status at times, and thereby not allowing their foreign incomes to be taxable in India. So which was causing a loss to the Indian Exchequer, the government, and automatically they wanted to make people liable for their foreign incomes also, had they been here for more than 4 months. So they shifted the particular time period from 182 days to 120 days.
And in the budget proposals that you see, there have been a lot of proposals. There's been an altogether new alternate code of taxes, rate of taxes that has been proposed for people, which is an option that is given to people. Does any of the other proposals have a major impact on a non-resident or somebody who's not ordinarily resident in India?
So the particular new tax regime which has been introduced as a part of the simplified structure, where 70 exemptions and deductions have been removed, are primarily a lower tax rate structure which is available to people on their incomes, and is not really defined in terms of foreign incomes versus Indian incomes. The very basic difference for the residential status is that if an income accrues to you or is received to you in India, is a part of the Indian income. If something is received to you in India but accrues to you in foreign country, is also considered to be a part of a taxable income. But if it accrues and is received outside, then it is a part of the foreign income.
जी, तो आज हमने बात की करदाता के रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस के बारे में, और हम अपने श्रोताओं को याद दिला दें कि कल इस कार्यक्रम में हम बात करेंगे साइबर सुरक्षा पर। तो यामिनी, कार्यक्रम में आने और हमारे श्रोताओं को इतनी बहुमूल्य जानकारी देने के लिए आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद।
Do send in your questions on cyber security in advance at moneymatters.air@gmail.com. Thank you, Yamini. Thank you, Vishal. And that's a wrap on this edition of Money Matters. Namaskar.